The pyramid of learning and experience of succession. Paragraph 1. The symbolism and pattern of the pyramid as a mode relevant to the forward progressions of the synopsis you're hearing is relevant to the proponent of this literacy conjecture as a literary stimulus and visual learning acuity. What can be used to advancing your ethereal enhancement and evolutions for your all-inclusively involved, integrally. Paragraph 2. When considering the procession of thought, symbolic of the pyramid, as a pinnacle of linear thresholds, it is important to contemplate the substance of this literary test as an example, as really a dynamic flexibility that gravitates a symmetrical connectivity that is a non-linear, simplistic functionality that is corroborated as a asymmetrical succession. So an all-inclusive involvement. The conceptual and practicality of contemplating the modes of approach and the after occurrence, resulting as progression. Hence, a peace and serenity achieved over duration of experiencing is established innately as an extension that develops with tranquility and liberty, especially with tenacity and resilience, to advance and to culminating and harnessing natural traits via principle, ethics, morality, educational mobility, and honing skill and talents. Paragraph 3. A question presents: is there a pinnacle to the succession of ecological experience of corporeal organic form, life experience, and of such accomplished serenity and the tranquility achieved via epiphany of the succession of learning, earning such experience, processions of stimulation, and whilst being a stimulant too? It is curious to consider their philosophical and mathematical synchronicities. As pure math equations philosophically applied is a plausible desynchronicity and dysfunction to extent, as templations of measurement is clearly indication of such discrepancy that must be scrutinized, and the prisms of conduits emphasized and exposed, because the real threat of derailment and misdirection via special interests, as example, to such ulterior motives is definitive of the modes of thresholds of propaganda and misperception, acclimatized as cognitive syndromes. Paragraph 4. Whilst linear occurrences are a fact, the emphasis of the dynamics involved, recognizable patterns of motion, abstract, subjective and objective thought and feeling, the experience of sensing and sensitivities of the self and communal belonging is involved of the revolutions of the modes, procession and succession of direction and buoyancy, to the practicality of spatial functions and matters of cohesion, unity of environment and stimulus, and thus a anthropomorphism becomes self-evident, while simultaneously intuitive correlations to do of the holism of experience that transcends beyond the corporeal sanctity of biological experience. For the idiom of the ether beyond is a factual evidence and abstract proof that so much more is happening to happen than just here and now. Paragraph 5. The ideology, concept and hypothesis of modes of succession according to the ecological and evolutional revolutions is evident of involvement to that of the space it has and is happening in and of and through and with. Extra example is the absolute constants of space and the constant of sensory and psychological involvement that the same example is of communication and communicable ways of functionality. For the variables involved of constant dynamics is of a statics and fluid motions and revolutions as of phases, just as phrases and expression is proof of the unique personificational ways that is manifest of experience and fermenting of the idioms of behaviorism, attitude and personality, and hence are recognizable patterns of a ordered potential, despite any dysfunction permeated as a frames of commonality of microcosm and macrocosm successions. The progressions over duration as echelons of consensus of correctness and the simultaneous disorderly conduct committed as incorrectness is emphasized of the striving to earning of learning, community, education, advancement, evolutions and revolutions, education and enlightenment. For during the motions of experiencing and the involvement of immediate stimulus and beyond is proof of the asymmetrical and symmetrical inclusions of cohesions, as all respect integrities of origin, even if disrespect happens.